So just saw 28 years later, The Bone Temple yesterday. You could look at it as like this is 28 Days Later 4, but it doesn't really feel that way. It feels more like 28 Days Later 3, Chapter 2. This, I'm going to guess, is probably going to be the darkest chapter. We have yet to see. The first, I want to say, like 40 minutes of this film were in parts hard to get through because you're kind of bouncing back and forth between what's going on with Dr. Kelson and Samson, showing signs of like maybe there's like a glimmer of humanity in there, sort of like Bud from friggin' Day of the Dead. All right. But when we're not with the two of them, we're with Jimmy. And the movie lets you know literally from the opening scene that it is not screwing around. I'm here to tell you, in the first 40 minutes, this movie entered like torture porn territory. And I don't like, I'm not shitting on torture porn. Like, it's, I like the Saw movies. I like the Hostel movies. They're really messed up, but like, I think that it's effective horror. The thing is, I know what I'm getting myself into when I go to see a Hostel movie or a Saw movie. This was like very dark for this franchise. I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that it was bad. In fact, I do think that it was necessary. Some people will probably argue to the contrary. But this is just like a very dark part of the story. I don't think that it's going to be like Walking Dead, where like after a certain point, every season is like, how are we going to traumatize you more than we traumatized you last season? No, I think that this was necessary to set up exactly what a freaking scumbag Jimmy is. And he is a terrific villain. I mean, he's a real piece of shit. Ralph Fiennes, every time I think that I can't have any more respect for him as an actor, he comes out and does something like this. The way he committed to this role and what he does specifically in this movie, I'm not going to obviously get into specifics. I am going to do a spoiler review. I'm going to film it right after this because I have to talk about it, okay? But like it's sort of like, okay, you know what? There is a line that Dr. Kelson has in the movie, and he says, let's crank this up to 11. That is what this movie should have been titled. Let's crank this up to 11, because that's exactly what it did, okay? Like the ending of the first 28 years later, where, Jimmy pops out and there's that crazy metal music from the Teletubbies and they're like doing acrobatics and shit like that, and you're just like, what the fuck am I watching right now? There's a similar vibe in this film, one particular scene, which is just so freaking awesome and so metal, and I just had a smile on my face the entire time, and I was just like, yeah, man. Like, I really like the fact that, they took enough time to really world build, now that it's been 28 years, and to really establish these characters in the first film. There's a lot of seriousness to it, but it goes completely off the rails a lot, and I really like that. I like that this is the fourth movie in a freaking franchise, and I'm going in there being like, oh my god, and something happened to just blow me away again. That scene, I have to talk about. I can't do it in this review, but I have to talk about it. It's really so fucking awesome. The acting all around was great. The directing was actually really good. There was a couple points where there were like some jump scares where it felt like a little bit, let's put it this way, I could tell Danny Boyle didn't direct it in those like tiny little scenes. But other than that, like the cinematography and just like everything about the direction of the movie was fantastic. And I know that the director of this film was also the director of The Marvels, which I have not seen, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I would hate it. But here's the thing, she was sort of like chained by Disney. I feel like this was her using her talent as a director to actually give us a film that actually works. And, she really understood and respected like the vibe and just, again, the lore of like all the characters. It definitely leaves off for a third one. There's one question that remains, a big question. And then there's just something that happens that it directly leaves off for the next film. And I am very curious about it. It brings up a lot more questions. Overall, honestly, despite the fact that there was some really disturbing shit in the first like half of this movie, I think I liked it better. I think I liked it better than 28 years later. I mean, in that sort of like in the way a lot of people like Two Towers better than The Fellowship of the Ring, because it just you're in the thick of it, you know, and like all this awesomeness is happening, and you know, you needed that setup, but now you're like, it's the meat and potatoes of the story, you know, like that's what it felt like. I feel that the next entry to this film or series is going to be a bit more mellow. I could be mistaken. We'll have to see. But yeah, Bone Temple definitely cranked it up to 11. If you're squeamish, well, I mean, not for nothing. You can't be that squeamish if you sat through the first one. This is a lot heavier, though. Like, a lot heavier. And, you know, it's still got things that are going to surprise you. Everything was bigger in this movie and not in the, like, you know, they're trying too hard. Like, it all felt very much earned. I really, really enjoyed it. And if you can deal with some disturbing shit in the first half of the movie, I would highly recommend going out to see it in theaters because it was quite the experience. So 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Have you guys seen it? What did you think about it? What do you guys... well, you know what? Here, when I do my spoiler video, talk about theories, okay? But right now, just for anybody who hasn't seen it, okay? Yeah, so... thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership. Consider subscribing. And that's all she wrote.